Now we are discussing a very important income tax judgment. There is a landmark for a trust having both religious and charitable purposes. This case is Sri Dharma Sastha Harihara Seva Charitable Temple Trust versus CIT, decided by the ITAT Cochin bench. The core principle from this judgment is if a trust has both religious and charitable objects, and its beneficiaries are not confined to a single religious community, beneficiaries are at large, then section 13(1)(b) does not bar it from obtaining 12-year registration or ATG approval, 12-year ATG exemption. So let's break down step by step. We'll see the case background first. The assessee trust was formed to provide food and drinking water to pilgrims visiting the Sabarimala temple. So they were distributing drinking water, they were distributing food, and they were distributing umbrellas to pilgrims visiting the Sabarimala temple. So it obtained a provisional registration under section 12A on November 7th, 2022. And later, on May 2023, it filed Form 10AB seeking regular registration. So what happened next? The CIT exemption rejected the application, saying that no, trust was a religious trust and therefore not entitled to registration for this exemption because it is a religious. So the assessee's argument was, no, there is no statutory prohibition against granting registration to a trust having both charitable and religious objects. So we have both charitable and religious. And even precedents from Supreme Court and even ITAT Pune established that trust both composite objectives can still be eligible under Section 11 exemption, provided they do not serve only for one religious community. This is what argued by the assessee. Then the tribunal's observations. ITAT Cochin relied on multiple judicial precedents. There were Supreme Court judgments, Dawoodi, Bohra, Jamat. A trust can have a purely religious objects, purely charitable objects, or mix of both. So this is what the objectives of the trust can have. If trust is composite and its work for both public at large, section 13(1)(b) will not apply. Even Gujarat High Court, Barkate Saifiyah Society, and Chandra Charitable Trust, Gujarat High Court held section 13(1)(b) applies only to purely charitable trust serving a particular community and not to composite religious charitable trust. That is what the applicability of section 13(1)(b). In this case, the trust activities such as serving pilgrims and providing services, including ambulance services, were for the general public, not confined to one community. So the relevant provision, we see section 12A, registration of charitable or religious trust. So mandatory to claim exemption under section 11 and 12. So under the new regime, first provisional registration is granted, then regular registration is started after the commencement of activities. This is what the new regime. So section 80C, this is a deduction for donors. So those who are donating, donors to approved charitable institutions are eligible for deduction from their taxable income. So section 13(1)(b), this disallows exemption to charitable trust if its activities are for the benefits of particular religious community or particular caste. This, as per section 13(1)(b), this disallows exemption if its activities are for particular religious or particular caste, particular community. This restriction does not apply to a trust that are both charitable and religious, and whose beneficiaries are general public. So ITAT's final decision, rejection order of Commission of Income Tax Exemption was set aside. The matter was remanded for fresh consideration, and the CIT exemption was directed to give the assessee a proper hearing, and if all other conditions are satisfied, grant both 12-year registration and ATC approval. This is what the ITAT's final decision. So here the takeaway is trust with both religious and charitable purposes, serving the public at large, and not restricted to one religious community, is eligible for registration under 12A and exemption under section 11. So what the precautions are? No? Draft your trust deed carefully. Ensure objects are open to general public, not limited to one community. So while drafting, we have to take care. And even inclusivity in activities. Keep records showing services are offered without religious discrimination. Maintain proper documentation like activity reports, beneficiary details, and final and financial records, and key during registration. So know your case laws also, the Supreme Court judgment and High Court judgment, so ITAT judgments. So this will strengthen the eligibility arguments. We have two channels, RR Corporates and RR Legal Talks. Please do subscribe and hit bell icon so that you will not miss any of our latest videos. Thank you.